You know, the thing that got me into creating this channel was twofold. One being to let people know and spread the word about these amazing plants to help prevent them from going extinct and doing my little part. The second thing is to destroy the misnomer that these plants require a high level of care, and with that, a high level cost associated with them. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And so today in this video, I want to talk to you about how you can grow these plants on a very, very low, small budget. And I'm going to give you the tools and the tips that I use to be able to grow a very large collection very fast, but most importantly, very cheap. All that and more coming your way in just a second. You know, just like with anything else, when it comes to a collection, you can spend as little or as much as you want to. And so what I am trying to do is show that you don't have to have a infinite supply of money to be able to have a very large collection. And so we're going to start with Venus flytraps right out of the gate. And so I have two pools full of Venus flytraps from big box stores, and then I have two over there that are from Jeremiah Harris plants. And so let's talk about these first. So what you have in front of you is probably upwards of a couple hundred Venus flytraps. And what I do is I will go to the big box stores, the Walmart, the Lowe's, the Home Depots, and I will haggle with them. And so you'll find if you go there, it's unfortunate, but a lot of these Venus flytraps, they won't water, or they'll water the wrong way. They have them in these death cubes. And so these things are getting none of the care they need. And they will essentially just buy them to sit them on the shelf and for them to die. And so what I do is I go in and I find the ones that are just about out, and then I will go to the store manager and ask if they can reduce the price. Lowe's is very good about this. Walmart will do it. Home Depot, not so much, but sometimes depending on who you catch. But Lowe's, I have gotten an entire box, so we're talking 30 or 40 plants for $10 because they marked them down so much. And the thing is, they're going to look dead on the surface, but as long as the rhizome is healthy, they will come back. It's a little bit of a longer journey, but that is a good way to get a very large collection at a very cheap price. Now that why I have you here, let's talk about pots. So I have everything in pots. Now pots can get expensive, believe it or not, but there is a trick to the trade when it comes to pots. And so if you go to your local nurseries, a lot of times you'll find that they have used pots that they'll sell at a very steep discount. I'm talking 5 cents, 10 cents a pot. And so that is what I've done, and I've managed to get my hands on quite a few. Also, a lot of estate sales will have them, usually just giving them away, which is something I do, and I'll go and get them. Most of those over there were from an estate sale. They were just giving them away. I think I picked up like 50 of like the 3-gallon pots for free. Other things you can do is Lowe's has a tendency to throw out a lot of their pots, but they put them in the very back of the store in the parking lot that nobody knows about. And if you go and talk to the person, the manager over the plants section, the outdoor garden section, they'll be able to let you know what's back there. And they're usually, hey, they'll go ahead and tell you just go ahead and pick up what you need. Now, kiddie pools make a great way to be able to buy or get a large collection for a cheap price. Each of these pools are $10 a piece, and I tend to wait to off summer season, so fall, winter, and because pools aren't going to be used that much, they tend to be on discount. And so I'm able to get these pools for $8 a piece, sometimes low as $5 a piece. And so they make great little tiny bog ecosystems. They hold water in. The only caveat being that they tend to sun rot. There are things you can do. You can cover them with like a felt lining that will help them. That is going to increase your cost. But the other thing you can do is just at $3 or $4 or $5 a piece, they'll give you a couple of years out of it, and then you just have to replace them, and they'll be just fine. Now, the other thing, I came to this because I wanted to show you all of these pictures here, there's literally hundreds of them here, and I've got tons more. All came from seeds. Now there are a couple options here. You can buy seeds from one of the websites, which is beneficial because you know you're getting a good healthy stock. The downside is you're only going to get about 25 or 30 seeds. Now you can go on eBay, make sure you source out the seller and make sure that they're good, but you can get a substantially more amount of seeds. Now this is where you're going to have to evaluate time versus cost. I have plenty of time and there's other things that I want to enjoy, so I don't mind growing from seeds. And if you don't mind growing from seeds, you can get quite a lot of plants very cheap. You'll just have to wait a couple seasons before they are sized worth your something you get enjoyment. For me, I enjoy the whole process, so that's good for me. Same with Venus flytraps. You can get a lot of seeds pretty cheap on eBay as long as you verify the seller first. And if you have any questions, you can ask me and I can link you up to some really good sellers. So let's talk about soil. Now, there are a couple different things you can do, but peat moss is going to run you at like a Lowe's about $21 for 3 cubic feet, and perlite is going to run you about $6 a bag. Now you can there's different ways. You can go on Amazon and get larger bulk amounts. That is a cheaper way to go. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that it is going to be non-nutrient added, so no Miracle Grow, nothing added to them. Now, as far as sphagnum moss goes, if you want live sphagnum moss, it can get quite expensive. But I have a video out there showing you how to revive sphagnum moss from dead sphagnum moss. And yes, it is possible. And here's the cheap part. And so at Lowe's, you can buy orchid moss, or they have sphagnum moss with them for about, I think it's $6 a bale. That stuff will come back to life, and I have a video that shows you how to do that. And so that can greatly reduce your cost, and it will only take about a month or two to start getting that going. And once that goes, it really takes off. So let's talk about how you can grow a large collection. Now, there are a couple options here. One is you can buy individual plants, and that will get pricey. The other option that you have is to learn how to propagate and what plants propagate the quickest. And so that is going to be your sundews. These sundews will propagate extremely fast. And so I have a video on there about root propagation and just how quickly those will go from a collection of just one or two to hundreds. And essentially you can have an infinite amount if you have the space and the desire to grow them out. Another thing you can do is, instead of growing them in pots like so, is grow them in these swimming pools just full of peat moss. And so these will quickly, and I mean quickly, take over and fill this whole thing. These are very easy to grow. Utricularia, I just redid this one. This is going to be longifolia, but given it this wide leg room, it will spread out very, very quickly. Now let's talk about water. So you hear a lot of people talking about plants need reverse osmosis, rainwater, distilled water. Distilled water can be very expensive. And so one of the things I have done in the past, and it worked very well, is I still have a dehumidifier in my house, and you can use the collection water from that to water your plants, and it works just fine. And it's a limitless supply of water as long as you are emptying it. The other thing is, you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on a rain barrel. I literally went to Home Depot and bought an extension for my gutter, and that extension cost about $4. And then I went and bought at Home Depot a 30-gallon trash can for about $5. And now I have a makeshift rain barrel system. Just drill a couple holes in the top and you get all the rainwater, 30 gallons worth that you can handle. The other thing is, these plants, not necessarily Venus flytraps, but your sundews and your sarracenias can handle high parts per million water. So as long as your parts per million is under 150, if you're growing them indoors, make it under 100. If you're growing them outdoors where they're going to get rained on and the pots are going to get washed through, 150 will do just fine. That will help quite a bit instead of having to buy all those distilled water in the gallons. As far as lighting goes, if you grow these temperate plants outdoors, you won't have to worry about it. The sun will give you everything you need. But if you do decide to grow them indoors, a good, great, amazing light is called Fiscida. I believe it's Fiscida. Those lights are amazing. I've used Mars Hydro, I've used Spider Farmer, all of them. Fiscida is a fraction of the price, and those lights, I have gone through multiple Mars Hydros and Spider Farmers, and I've never had to go through a Fiscida. They still run just as well as the day I bought them years ago. They are fantastic. They have got multiple years of best grow lights. They are amazing, and they are cheap compared to others. Where some will cost you a few $100s, these will cost you about $50 to $60. Still a little high on the price tag, but well worth the purchase. Going back to Venus flytraps, one or a couple different ways that you can really grow a collection very quickly is to do leaf pullings. And so if I was to take this and push down with my finger and get a little of that rhizome, put that in the pot with the rhizome covered, you can get a ton of plants that way. They're flower stalks, as you can see here. You can cut them off and put them in the ground, and they will produce little plantlets like this one right here and like this one that's starting. And that is a great way to grow your collection for absolutely free. If you stayed all the way to the end, you've come to here and you've gotten a ton of great ideas on how to grow these plants at a budget. But there are way more tricks to the trade that I'm more than happy to help you with. I may make a part 2 on this just to help you out, give you a little bit more insight. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always a resource. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Happy growing. Have a great day.